And action. Cool. Blessings to all. Welcome to the third installment of Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times, a introduction to mindfulness meditation. And I want to begin today by saying the following: however you need to show up today, please do. Like in Buddhist practice, we talk a lot about resourcing. So, however you got to take care of yourself, please do. Camera off or on. I'm just happy that you're here, right? Whether it be the racial stuff in Buffalo, whether it be the 1 million in the United States anyway, the 1 millionth official death from the coronavirus, whether it be, I don't even know, man. However you need to take care of yourself, please do. And also know and remember that all of these practices that we're talking about, especially when done together, are what it's all about, right? The crazier the times. I taught a class on Tuesday. Lori and Pat and a few folks were in the morning Austin class, where I just kind of let it rip from the heart about how I feel about everything that's happening in Buffalo. And I'll tell y'all, I'm not like the ambassador for like blackness. Like that's not how I move through the world. But I will say from my experience though that I am sad for the lives that have been lost. I hold in my heart sadness for all the discomfort that this causes everybody. You know, Black folks ain't the only people that are hurt by racism, right? White folks are hurt by racism. They just in denial. You know what I mean? Like, because the hate that you have in your heart the hate that you have in your heart to inflict this violence upon someone else is how you feel about yourself. So I have sorrow in my heart that people live their lives in that much anger and hurt and sadness. And as it stands for me, and this is a testament to all my practices, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. And some of you may have seen what I said on social media, and here's why. I'm not angry because I am committed to cultivate a love so fierce that hatred quivers in its sight. I'm here to cultivate a love so profound of myself that it impacts all who cross my path virtually or actually. And that love is what is talked about in Buddhist practice, in yogic practice, in all of the true renderings of religious practice. It's a love so profound that hate can't abide, fear can't abide. So that is why I'm not angry, because I have decided for the rest of my days, as long as I draw breath in this body, it will be to cultivate and nurture that love. And as I cultivate and nurture that love, I share that love. So that is how I plan on living the rest of my life. That, like I said, that doesn't mean I'm sad, not sad and a little bit angry. But what it does mean is that the energy that I would spend in a loop, I'm spending going and, well, like we talked about last week, cultivating my garden, dethatching the garden so that these things can bloom, right? So that's where I'm at today. So please announce yourself into the room and via the chat. So where you are geographically, a weather report. So if you were to put on your meteorological hat, how would you be showing up today as a weather report? And then we'll go into some agreements, and then we'll dive in. But happy to see you, Tammy. Welcome. I'm stoked that we can probably make this happen in a month. That's really great.
Yeah,
Really
I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's great. So yeah, come as you are. Please announce yourself as you are ready, if you care to, and we will dive into our content this evening: mindfulness of breath. Where's my water? So I'll begin with the agreements. Just as a recap, as we settle in and we see how each other's doing and read names and weather reports and stuff and land acknowledgements, some of the agreements we have shared in our shared container are as follows: that we recognize the difference between intent and impact, that we assume best intentions, even if language is inexact. I was in a really awkward training last evening where there was a whole bunch of inexact language, and people's feelings were getting hurt because people forgot about the agreement. That we are present and attentive to our personal needs and the needs of the group, that we embrace a spirit of curiosity rather than critique of self and others, and that we be free to try on something new, and to step away if it doesn't feel right. We see very rainy, rumbles of thunder coming in hot. Love it. Breezy clouds with sun. Everything, every season. Sweet. Right on. Cool. And I acknowledge the land that I'm on. It's the land of the Piscataway, in Maryland. It's the lineage of the teachers that I offer in this tradition is the Ajan, the Thai forest tradition of mindfulness as rendered by Jack Cornfield and Tara Brock, and the Zen lineage of Thich Nhat Hanh and Roshi Jo in Halifax. I acknowledge my ancestors, and my ancestors have been on jump. My gosh, like a week from Saturday, I will be on a plane to Spain, and who knows what happens on, yeah, Lord have mercy. Like, so that's, look, Black Hippie goes global. Who knew that was possible? So I acknowledge my ancestors because, you know, y'all know that t-shirt and that phrase, I'm my ancestors' wildest dream. Like, some people call it cliche. Nah, baby. Like that's just what it is. And I delight in that, in sharing that, because I think that we need to find joy in all aspects, especially in the times that we find ourselves in. So now I want to hold space for reflections about how, if you care to, like, how has mindfulness practice been helpful to you in the past week? You can either put it in the chat or, you know, no shade if you haven't practiced. I totally understand that. Like, but if you have incorporated some of the tools that we have been talking about, please share how it's been useful to me. I mean, I can share from my personal experience in that when I heard the news about what was going down in Buffalo, I felt in my body like tension in my neck, took a deep breath, and I massaged my neck. Right? So mindfulness can be that simple, as opposed to being like, this suck. Nah, I didn't even go there. I was just kind of like, blessings be upon those who have been lost. You know what I mean? So like that checking in, offering compassionate awareness to myself and other people, that's mindfulness. Right? So does anyone have any reflections on how it has been helpful, or how you hope it can be helpful? I mean, so we can open it up a bit too.
I will start, Reggie.
Okay, right on, Tammy. What you got?
2 hours ago, I found out mom fell and broke her hip.
Oh, shut up.
She's in the hospital. She's having surgery tomorrow.
Okay.
So I was like, well, Reggie, I just like, Reggie came to mind. I'm like, just take some deep breaths, you know, just chill. So I've just been, you know, just breathing deeply. So thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know, I need to hear about that. So thank you for that. Tammy's mom is one of my biggest cheerleaders. So like that's yeah, and just a beautiful soul. So thank you for sharing. Monica, she practiced mindful breathing multiple times throughout each day. How you get through and navigate anxiety. And the other thing I forgot to mention in terms of if you care to put your pronouns in your name. Super late, but my brain's kind of off today, just so we can really have some awareness on how we're entering the space. So Tammy, thank you for that. Anyone else care to offer anything into the space?
I can share, Reg.
Please go for it.
So I had some major, very unexpected health issues come up this year. I have ulcerative colitis, and I have not had any sort of symptoms in like 5 years. And I've been off medication. Thanks, shout out to Ayurveda. And this weekend, kind of like everything exploded. I have had symptoms I haven't had in 5 years, and it brought up a ton of like frustration, anxiety, like all the feels.
Right.
Now I was like trying to get a hold of doctors. I almost had to go to the ER, like all the things, and just like knowing, like being able just even like as we were driving somewhere in the car to just like stop and breathe and be like, all these feelings are valid, but getting myself worked up and being like, yes, it's okay to be frustrated that this is happening, but like blaming myself for what happened or like any of the, like it doesn't help either. It actually like legitimately makes everything worse.
Makes the
So just
symptoms
like,
yeah.
yeah. So just like breathing and like taking time to like process all those like really big feelings has been, I feel like it's still happening, but I feel like I've like come down a little bit like on my emotions roller coaster. So that's been
Right.
really
Well,
helpful.
blessings on your health, and thank you for the share. And yeah, that's mindfulness, right? Like mindfulness is not the way that I am learning it and practicing it and teaching it is that it can and should be used in every situation where you feel your levels going up. Rather than being like it'll be okay, maybe it won't, but like knowing that like okay, I have a right to feel this. Where do I feel this in my body? How can I breathe and like come down that's the practice. um Becky talked about like this practice helps greatly with grief. When a grief wave comes, to offer yourself grace, because yeah, that's beautiful and exactly right. It's grief. I taught a class on Sunday in person, which was the first time I've done that in years, like in a closed space. I've taught in open spaces, but not in closed spaces in a studio. And it was about grief. And it was about holding space for the waves. So thank you for that share, Becky. Emma talks about, has a reflection question. What do you do when you get stuck in loops and get in a bad mood? Honor the bad mood. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like honor the bad mood. Like because this too shall pass, right? So you can like try, it's kind of, I think that's why I use the weather report analogy. So like you can I used to live in Belgium, and I know you live in the Northwest. Like you can hope for the sun, but if it's rainy, it's rainy. Right? I lived in Belgium where it rained from like November to April, right? So like I would hope for the sun, but if it's rainy, it's raining. So just honor the mood, do what you need to do to either weather the storm, no pun intended, or just resource yourself to have more compassion, right? It's okay for me to feel this way. I'm entitled to feel this way. How can I be kind to myself as I feel this way? Does that make sense? Yeah, because I mean, I think that's why I'm a good teacher, is because I've used the hell out of all these ancient wisdom practices, right? Like like who said, Margie said coming in hot. That was my disposition. Like Reggie would come in just like whether like someone would say something crazy to me, I'd cut him in half with my words, like hot. You know what I mean? And so like for me, taking a breath, taking a pause, and like responding as opposed to reacting, and acknowledging the truth of what's going on, is the practice, right? So having a bad mood, being kind to yourself as the bad mood happens, and knowing that the mood will change, right? Chelsea, I see your hand.
Sorry. So I don't know why I said sorry. Uh, that's my Midwest coming out. It's just been a really beautiful way of like showing up, holding space, and honoring myself, and just really allowing myself to show myself love and receive love, right? Like there's a lot of changes happening in my life at the moment, and there's a lot of goodbyes.
Mhm.
And so just being able to be present, which is not something historically I've been able to do. Right. And
Right.
so just that has been really beautiful lately for me in my life.
Thank you for that, Sharon. When do you move?
I'm on the road next Thursday, so I
Okay,
won't be
wow.
able to join again.
Right
I'll
on.
send a text. I'll send a
Right
pray
on.
for us.
Yeah, for sure. Right on, for sure. Kristen talked about, I've been practicing acknowledging thoughts, even the angry thoughts, and letting them go. Yeah, right. It's isn't it amazing to realize that thoughts, you don't have to be governed by them? right? You can be like, okay, I see you thought. Yeah, I agree with you today. Or I'm tripping right now. I'm just going to let that pass away. But thank you for visiting, right? Like it's totally reorienting, well, acknowledging that you feel these things or that you think these things. And then, as with everything, everything changes. So you're just kind of like, okay, cool. Thanks for visiting. Right. And the river, yeah, just let it float down the stream. Right. Um, Lori, please.
I think it was maybe it was last week, or maybe it was this week during one of our mornings where you talked about, I guess it was last week, where you said your thoughts don't always have your best interests in mind. I like that, and I tried to keep that in the forefront of my mind this week with all the crazy transitions at the end of the school year.
Right.
And it is one of those things, the idea, and it kind of even goes back to what Emma mentioned, where you have thoughts and you have feelings, and we think that's who we are. It's hard to separate ourselves from our thoughts and feelings. We think, oh, well, this is in me, this must be me. And I think that's something I'm just finally coming around to. And an analogy that kind of worked for me was, my body's not perfect. I have problems in my body. Everything my body does isn't perfect. So every thought in my head isn't perfect. Every feeling that bubbles up isn't perfect, isn't necessarily who I am, deep down. So that's kind of been a moment I had this week thinking about that.
Well, that's a beautiful reflection, and it is it's the thing about thoughts is, especially for some of the deeply held thoughts that we have, it may have served a purpose at one point in your life, right? My anger served as a protective mechanism for at one point in my life. That anger also, as it metastasized over years, led to hypertension, and led to just certain levels of physical distress, right? So like figuring out ways to deconstruct myself from the habit that I was using to protect myself, that's challenging, but remembering that we can let that go, and that it's not it may be who we were at one point, but it's not who we are now, and it doesn't have to be, right? So I appreciate that share. A couple more in the chat. Margie, this is pretty funny. I used mindful breathing a few times while parenting this week and avoided yelling at my kids. Yo, that's real, right? And I love that you shared that, and that's how I want us to consider all of these practices, right? Whether it be mindfulness, or whether it be for those of you that practice yoga with me, like you can use yoga and mindfulness in situations like that. I mean, I remember being in a staff meeting one time where someone said something stupid to me, and I went like this. Right? Because I felt my side body get tight. I was like, this feeling sucks. I gotta let this go. And just whatever. I forgot to cut off my camera. Reggie, what are you doing? I'm resourcing right now. I'm protecting all of us. Because right? So yeah, that you could use it in a parenting moment. Parenting, I don't have kids, but I used to teach high school, which is close enough to some extent. Visceral, right? That's the realest interaction of patience and forbearance and kindness, right? So hoorah. Eleanor, what you got?
Betty. I was just, sometimes I will pay attention to my thoughts, and when I catch myself on whatever that negative loop is, whatever it's about, I'll work to shift my practice to gratitude, shift my attention to gratitude. And for me, that's been very transformative. And it shifts. I have a pretty consistent gratitude practice. So now it's a little bit easier for me to connect with. But at first it was really hard, because you get on this negative loop and then just everything sucks, and everything, whatever, everything sucks. And now it's like, okay, let's just start thinking about the things I'm grateful for. And I just start listing all the things And it can be big stuff. It can be little stuff. It can be the fact that I can go in the kitchen and turn the faucet on and I have clean running water that I can just drink. I don't have to walk anywhere for that, and so I start to get in that level, and it moves me to this place of abundance that just is powerful.
Because the trick to mindfulness, thank you for the shout out, Eleanor. The trick to mindfulness is being present with what is and then using wise action thereafter, right? So I'm feeling angry today. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to close my mouth like that. I've done that practice a lot, right? Or you can switch to gratitude, those sorts of things. Before I forget, Becky, how's the move? Your audio is not working, sweets. Oh.
Is it working now?
Yeah, there you are.
We are moved in. It went well. We're still like placing things, but yes, we're in the house.
Moving can be an opportunity to practice mindfulness as well.
Yes. So my daughter actually set up this space, and while we were in the midst of the move, because I can get like 500 steps ahead of myself, she had me sit on my cushion, and I feel like she could tell I was about to like just freak out.
Mm-hmm.
So children really do sense our energy, and she's often a reminder and reflection to me of the practice of being mindful and being in the flow and being in the moment.
Right. Well, if your kid's looking out for you like that, keep them around. That's great. And congratulations on the move. Like
Thank you.
that's a big deal. Yeah, I'm the teacher that remembers things. Like for those people who've been coming to me, I'm the king of being like, so how's this? Yeah, I remember. I listen. Right. I'm like, so glad that your move is going well. So any other reflections? And I love that it's been robust, and I love that people, whether you shared or not, I love that we all had something to offer, either our attention or the words, because this is how these little things, and remembering how how we can utilize these in the little moments, that changes your life. Totally changes your life. Like when the story I use often when I'm interviewed about my yoga practice and my meditation practice, like I had a mindful moment, like to stop cursing somebody out. I was this close to calling someone SMFBMF, right? Right? Like close, like, and right. So paused, breathed. And I didn't even know what I was doing. It's like the ancestors like hit me in the back of the head or something like that. That's why I always acknowledge my ancestors, because that was going to be like if there was an Olympics of cursing somebody out, I would have made the medal. I would have made the medal stand on that moment. But I didn't make the medal. That's not maturity. That's blessing, Pat. That's blessing, right? It's maturity now because like I've grown in the practice. At that moment, it was blessing. It was something like, right. So that was, yeah. So gratitude for the shares, and hope that you all feel nourished by the shares, like because we're all in this together. It's both. We're all in this together, and hearing how each of us have experienced this awakens the mind and the heart for other opportunities for us to find that. So deep gratitude to y'all for that. So let's do a recap of the last 2 weeks, and then we'll go into today's content. So we talked about in the first week, we talked about the definition of mindfulness as non-judgmental, loving awareness. Eleanor's share about gratitude practice is in what Emma asked about. So non-judgmental, loving awareness. I'm in a bad mood. I see that. I still love myself. And yes, being kind to yourself is hard, but it gets easier. It definitely gets easier. I mean, as the king of self-loathing, the prince, I don't really do king stuff, but as the prince of self-loathing, like I know it gets easier over time. Mindfulness is the journey that begins with that pause and discovering the dignity that exists beneath the notions of what we should do, or don't nobody talk to me that. Like when we get past that, and that dignity that exists below like our cultured responses, that's mindfulness, right? Mindfulness can be called the art of living, being present with our life, not lost in the fantasies of the future or the reruns of the past, but to be fully where we are. This is Jack Kornfield. By training this capacity of presence, we calm and quiet the mind, open the heart, and learn to see and work with different energies of life to be able to respond wisely. I talked about the mindfulness exercise as the sacred pause of not blowing through a yellow traffic light. So stopping, pausing, stopping, collecting, then going forward. I still can't believe that came to me. I'm just like, you're becoming a teacher, dude. Like we did a body scan, and that's something else that we can always do. Like when you feel yourself getting a little too heady, you can just kind of, or, like, why do I feel this way? Oh, I don't have a neck. Okay, cool. I look like I've got like talons. Let me make them hands again, right? So like getting into the body and seeing what tension we have and then relaxing that tension willfully is very powerful. Because like when we go and we don't pause, like it just builds upon itself. That pause is a chance to flip the script. And with respect to mindfulness of thought, we talked about thoughts being as powerful as we make them. And someone quoted this earlier. I think it was you, Lori. The wisdom of the Dalai Lama. They said like our thoughts don't have our best interests sometimes, right? That wisdom is key. Like a thought that you have, if it is cruel, you don't have to believe that. You experience it, sure, but you don't have to believe that. And you can flip the script on that once you notice it, right? We talked about what meditation is not. The goal of meditation is not to get the mind to stop thinking. That's next to impossible, given the way that this thing works. But what we can do in meditation, especially with respect to thoughts, is increase our awareness of the tension of our thoughts that the thoughts give us, and shift from these shifts, enhance our quality of mind and life. And when we shift our quality of mind and life, we reduce suffering. When we reduce suffering, we have more love and compassion. When we have more love and compassion, we can give it to other people. Like it's like a benevolent caduceus, right? Like it all builds upon itself. But and we talked about mindfulness of thought can lay the foundation for upgrading our internal operating system, defragging, or otherwise proceeding forth with clarity. We explored techniques on how to bear witness to thoughts as objects. So rather than attaching to the thought, seeing it as an object, and from that objectivity, making judgments as to how you want to proceed with that thought, and responding as opposed to reacting to the thought. And as you expand the awareness, choosing how to proceed forth. So that's what we've talked about in the past 2 weeks in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions about mindfulness of body, mindfulness of thought? Any questions or reflections? Thanks, Laurent. Laurent said I'm part of the Geek Squad. I'll take it. Spiritual Geek Squad all day. No questions? Whoa. So let's shift gears and talk about mindfulness of breath, right? So again, part of this series is to offer tips and techniques and perspective shifts to help your life right now. As someone who majored in existential philosophy at Yale, I find marginal utility in pontificating without practicality, right? Like I can sit here and opine, but we ain't living in opine times. We're living in, brother, how can you help me right now? My life is messed up. What you got? Like those are the times that we're living in now. So my goal is to demystify what people think meditation is and give us, Monica, thanks, is to demystify what meditation is and get us into elements of what it actually is and how we can apply those elements to our lives. So if I were to tell you to just start meditating right now, like go, right? First of all, I would never do that. You'd probably be like, is this guy okay? But aside from the fact that you'd be like, what's the rush? Reggie, you okay? You might do something like this. You might adjust your seat, find your posture, or find like an alignment that works for you. You might feel gravity in the body and settle into an anchor. And you might even notice the quality of the mind. And if you know, if you're like most of us, if you just step into it, you'll see that the mind's all over the place, right? So at its essence, mindfulness of breath can be a tool to focus the mind, right? So as we expand our awareness of and connection to the breath, it's an opportunity to cultivate steady attention and intimacy with the thing that is always with us, yet we take for granted, right? So human beings can survive weeks without food, days without water, minutes without breath, minutes. So in terms of our physiological hierarchy of needs, the breath is paramount. And in his New York Times best-selling book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art, James Nestor says in his foreword, there's nothing more essential to our health and well-being than breathing. Take air in, let it out, repeat 25,000 times a day. That's a big number, but yeah. Yet, as a species, we have lost the ability to breathe correctly with grave consequences. Now, that's some New York Times bestseller stuff. Don't nobody need no drama like that, like with grave consequences. Stop it. Like, you already sold books. You don't need to sell more books. And the purpose of tonight is not to be doom and gloom. It's to expand our curiosity about this essential element of our human experience. So, yet when was the last time you paused to consider the breath? Right? It's beautiful, right? Like the fact that you can go, is glory, right? It's joy. It's joyful. It's all, the breath is beautiful. It's necessary for our physical existence, but it's also mysterious. I know Pat will laugh when I say this because I taught a meditation about a couple years ago. Have you ever considered where the breath comes from?
No.
Right. So where does it come from? That is wonder inducing. It's like, whoa, right? Or when you exhale, where does it go? Eleanor says it's just out there, right? Right. It's like, it's here, it's there, right? And once you get past like that super existential thing, the breath connects us with all things, right? The trees take in what we exhale and make it possible for us to breathe again, right? And I heard it in a yoga training I had. Our inhale is the exhale of the universe. Our exhale is the inhale of the universe. Like it's that intimately connected. And if we're being honest, the coronavirus showed us how connected we are via the breath also. You know, not trying to be Debbie Downer or whatever, but like the coronavirus showed us how intimately we are connected via the breath. Something that we could not see, transmitted through something we barely understand, shifted the entire course of our consciousness over the past several years. That's what the breath is about. The breath is constantly changing, and it connects us to both our inner landscape and the outer world. So the outer world in terms of like the trees and one another and those sorts of things. But a deeper breath allows for the capacity for you to explore the mind, the body, and all of those sorts of things, right? So before we settle into a practice, it bears mentioning that some people have difficulty focusing on the breath, right? Whether it be for a variety of reasons. It could be a stored trauma, it could be overactive mind, or some other aversion. And in keeping with our agreement to honor the needs and resource ourselves accordingly, if when we go through breath stuff and it's too much for you, just find an anchor upon which to rest your attention. So you can rest your attention on your body being held by gravity, or if you're in a chair and you have elbows on a chair rest, like you can hold your attention if holding awareness on the breath is too much for you. And at bare minimum, you can just hold yourself in a state of compassionate awareness, right? And if there's a place where tension becomes alive in the body, So if I cue something in the breath and the body seizes up, maybe rest your attention on that tension. I'll say that 5 times fast. Rest your attention on that tension and explore curiously what it's about. I'll give you an example. I had an apartment fire when I lived in Europe, and I used to unconsciously seize at the smell of a match. So I would smell sulfur. So the sulfur from a match, I would smell it and automatically just right go back to where I was when I found out my apartment burnt down. And I didn't know that until like I couldn't take deep, like I was just stuck. I mean, I'm now much better, but like for years, like a smell of a match would send me way back and I couldn't breathe. So I know this firsthand. So if something like that comes up, come back into the body, notice where you have tension in the body, and use the tools that we've worked with thus far to relieve tension in the body. And it also bears mentioning that mindfulness of breath is not breath control, or in yogic parlance, that's pranayama. Mindfulness of breath is not pranayama. What we're seeking to do with mindfulness of breath is align mind, body, and breath, and maybe the heart, and then enter the spaciousness of that alignment. So when we're not at war with ourselves, things fall away and we become open and expansive. That's what we're seeking here. And one more thing to consider is that when you feel spaces of peace, ease, and calm, stay there. I'll say that again. So if during the course of our practice, if you feel like peace and ease and calm and you want to zone out for a bit, go. Right? Because that is an opportunity to remember that the goal of these practices is to strengthen the muscle memory for peaceful, loving, non-judgmental awareness. Right? So maybe you get lost in, where does the breath come from? Right? And so maybe you get lost in thought, but in a curious way. Right? So rather than, again, viewing thought, using the tool of thought as a chance to ponder the mystery of the breath. Okay? How does that sound? Any questions? Anything you want me to repeat? Does that make sense? Like, talk to me. See some thumbs? Cool. All right. Well, let's practice, my dear ones. So first things first, take organic movement to shake off the day and come into a deeper presencing with the body. Tammy, that's hilarious. Tammy's trolling me, y'all. I know you're not. So whatever feels good in the body, whatever feels organic, necessary, and I would even say delicious, allow yourself to abide in that organic movement. Allow your physical form to relax as much as you're able. Allow the shape of your body to support non-judgmental loving awareness. And notice gravity on the body and allow whatever you feel, whatever weight you feel, and beckon the muscles to soften where they can. Now, once you settle deeper into this more conscious relaxation, notice that innate sense of dignity that we all have inside, and allow your body to shape itself around that dignity. Be more conscious of your energy than your body in this moment. And as we prepare, one last thing, perhaps allowing your body to have the feel of a smile. So imagining someone doing something kind for you, or you doing something kind for someone else, and that half smile that exists when you extend kindness to another or you receive kindness from another. Imagine what that feels like in the body. So using the thoughts using your imagination and awakening the discipline of curiosity. Now bring your attention as best you can to the fact that the body is breathing. And notice that it's always breathing quite naturally, whether we're aware of it or not. Now find where the breath is most easily felt in the body. Maybe you place a hand on the heart or belly or both. And whatever posture you have assumed, sitting, standing, or lying down, notice the ebb and flow of the breath. Perhaps even employing a technique commonly offered by Elder Thich Nhat Hanh. Perhaps you whisper the phrase calm on the inhale, ease on the exhale. Or another technique from Elder Thich Nhat Hanh, you might also say, I am breathing in on the inhale, I am breathing out on the exhale. Whatever you choose to do so calmly, compassionately, and presently. And if the mind does its thing and begins to wander, remember what we learned last week. Remember that you can train the mind to come back. You can bring your attention back to I am breathing in, I'm breathing out, or calm, ease. Whatever brings the attention of the mind to the experience of the breath in the body. And again, if deep breath is not accessible to you, keep your awareness where you can stay in loving, non-judgmental awareness. So digging deeper on the breath, notice how it might be a cool feeling on the nostrils on the in-breath. It could be warmth on the upper lip on the out-breath. It could be a sense of swirling or tingling on the back of the throat. It could be the rise and fall of the chest or belly. Or it might be all of these things. But wherever you find the breath easiest to feel, whatever's most pleasant, rest your attention there. You may begin to play with the breath, so maybe you extend a bit. Maybe you shorten a bit. And for those of you who choose to play with the breath, notice how that impacts other aspects of the body. Does the breath have a texture? Does it have a temperature? Is it more prevalent in one nostril than the other? Again, using the curiosity of the mind to bear witness to the majesty and miracle of the breath. And again, if the breath is subtle or hard to feel, placing a hand on the belly to feel the rise and fall of the abdomen. This is a beautiful way to stay with the breath and experience it. Now, for the next period of time, feel the next 3 breaths in and out. And as you feel each breath, let the mind calm and the body relax. And notice the connection between the inhale, the exhale, and calming. How does that impact the mind? Continue with this relaxed and calming attention. And each time the mind wanders to a to-do list or something, gently bring it back home. We're building muscle memory here. And think of it as like training a mind, is like training a puppy. Offer a simple, kind word. Sit, stay. I am breathing in, I am breathing out. Calm, ease. Perhaps feeling the sanctity and sacredness of this breath right now. And in the same way, as we practice in mindfulness of thoughts, perhaps you notice the beginning, middle, and ending of the breath. Perhaps you notice the space between the breath. Perhaps you relax within the space between. And like I said earlier, if you find a peaceful, calm place, luxuriate in that oasis. Each breath arising and passing with mindful awareness. Gratitude for the experience and connection to the thing that animates all of us. And again, if your attention shifts, gently coax it back to the sensations of breathing or the grounding sensation in the body. Perhaps making your attention softer as the breath softens. Noticing the spaciousness in this practice. And resting mind, heart, and spirit in that spaciousness. Fully present, awake, and at ease. Just a few more moments. Creating intimacy with the experience that makes life possible. Gently bringing yourself out from the meditative experience as gently as you came in. Perhaps pressing hands on the body or hands on the face to gently bring you back into full awareness. But don't rush. Then for those of you who have closed the eyes, as you are ready, gently blink them open. So, how was that? Either you can unmute yourself, put it in the chat. Let's have a few questions, or if you have questions or reflections, we're here for that. So this is a little more out there, but like I said, where's the breath come from? Where is it going, right? So just like kind of, Tammy said it felt wonderful. What else do we got? Monica just woke up. More grounded, feel at peace, thankful to be alive, and to wonder, right? We've lost our sense of wonder. Connected, yeah, for sure. Peaceful. And all we did was breathe and be aware of it and get lost in the mystery and use the faculties of the mind to be present with the mystery of the breath. That's nostalgic, really beautiful, very nice pause, so relaxing. Emma, tell me a little bit more about nostalgic.
I had memories come up
Mm-hmm.
of like nice, pleasant feelings,
Like
specific memories in time.
Oh, cool. Like summertime, like playground stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Right on. That's what's up. Deep rest. Cool. Thank you. Felt my chest relax and heart was awesome. That's a gift to hear, Megan. Thanks for sharing. Gratitude. It's amazing, right, Kristen, how things shift, right? Yeah. The breath is to get lost. Getting lost in thought isn't always a good thing unless you're daydreaming, for me anyway. Getting lost in the sensations of the breath are an opportunity to just feel the mystery of this beautiful thing called life. Right? So rather than get caught up in the stories of just like, I had this meeting and la 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 la, rah, like, yeah, where'd the, it's like, I've done that before. Like, felt like I was taking a conscious nap right on. Right? Which is, I mean, Margie, if I use that again, I'll definitely give you credit. Like that might be the name of my next practicum is like breath awareness. Like come take your conscious nap. But these practices in general, but in community, look at how we all feel. And if you can't sense it, if you can't see it, sense it. All we did was breathe. That's it. Relaxing with spaciousness, my head was bobbing. Nice, nice. Yep, yoga nidra. So yeah, my friends, like that's today's practice. Like any other thoughts or comments or not even concerns, because ain't no concerns. Like we're happy. And the one thing I'll say, oh, fun. Cool, Angie, that's cool. Right on. Angie's son joined, not to put the son on the spot, but I believe the children are our future. Appreciate that. Teach them well and let them lead the way for real, because we ain't doing nothing. Yeah. So yeah, y'all, this I taught mindfulness of the body, then thoughts, then breath in that order for a reason. And I talked about that last week, and that can you now see that if you get lost in thought, if you get into like the sensations of the breath, the mind will just be like, yeah, wow, right? So the mind can go from like harsh to, oh, that breath was awesome, like in a second. Right? So using the tool of the breath to sometimes, for me, again, like y'all, many of y'all know this, I used to work on Capitol Hill. My breath would trick my mind. So if I would walk into a circumstance that was unduly stressful, I would just be like, that was magical. And then my mind would be like, yeah, that was magical, right? Right. So I went from like stressful to magical through using the tool of the breath, and then would like allow my energy in that meeting would be magical as opposed to stressed out. Right. So Val said that was great. She went somewhere that was blissful. Where you went was like your true essence. So when we talk in these circles about expanded awareness and loving non-judgmental awareness, that's our true nature. So what you got lost in is unlimited consciousness that is loving, beautiful, and expansive. That's who we are. So bliss is our nature, and it's in there somewhere, but it's sometimes it's caught behind the thoughts, caught behind the I shouldn't do that or blah blah blah. So when you get lost in the breath and allow the mind to part, quite honestly, look at how we all feel. I always tell my students I lost my magic wand, but yeah, 3 deep breaths is the same thing, right? So any other questions or thoughts before we end our time together? So this has been, so it was kind of esoteric, but the breath is somewhat esoteric. So did this land for you? Cool. Because it is my desire to give you tools that you can use in these crazy times and actionable, right? So if I'm ever not doing that, please let me know, because I'm here for that. Yeah, Laurent says like it's concrete if you sit with the experience. Yeah, because again, unless you've been in a class with me where I'm like, where does the breath come from? Where does it go? Like you don't ponder about the mystery of this thing. Yeah. Which is magical. And that magic, people look all around for magic, and it's in every inhale and every exhale. So for those of you looking for it, you found it. Thanks for coming to class. So let's just end with conscious breathing for about a minute. So again, with gratitude for your attendance, for your shares, for your connection to self and one another. We haven't been that far away from it, so reconnect yourself with the inhale and the exhale to whatever degree. And let's take 3 of them in unison. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale, calm. Exhale, ease. Inhale, calm. Exhale, ease. I bow before each of you with gratitude, hoping that this content has been helpful for you. I apologize for whatever harm I may have caused. It is unintentional. Next week is the last week of the series. We will talk about mindfulness of emotions. So tell a friend and use these tools this week in whatever circumstance comes up, and allow the magic that we felt tonight to be just, don't just have it go from Thursday to Thursday, like have some tomorrow, right? Have some, have some with your kids, you know what I mean? Margie, that was great, right? So just take these tools, make your life more beautiful, and share that beauty with somebody else. Yeah? Gratitude to all. Until next time, love, grace, and peace.
Thank you, Reggie.
Absolutely, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Of course, Val. See you, Christiane. Kristen, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Megan, feel better. Tanya, thank you. Emma, Tammy, Jennifer, thank you. So Tammy, let me know how your mom is doing.
I will. She's having surgery tomorrow. So
Okay.
I will keep you posted.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.